Hello and welcome to Nintendo Everything. My name is Eric Zach, and who is joining me this week?
It's Onidino. I'm a translator here at Nintendo Everything.
Actually, I totally wanted to get into who we are, because obviously we're both starting a podcast for Nintendo Everything. This is the first episode 1. I think that's pretty obvious at this point. And yeah, people should get to know a little bit about who we are and what we want to kind of do with the show. So you mentioned that you're the translator for Nintendo Everything?
One of them, yes. Please don't think that everything is done by my hand.
For myself, I guess the title that I kind of call myself is the video content manager. I give myself in quotes there, but I kind of like to get my hands into a few other things as well, and just kind of whatever Brian can kind of throw my way and have a bit of fun with that. I wanted to also talk about what we're into as people, because I feel like people, they're going to get to know us over the show, but they should also kind of get to know us a little bit from the start here. Now, on previous videos I've done, I've told people what I'm kind of into, but I want to learn a little bit about you, Oni. Like, what are you into? What games do you like? And a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So, as I started off saying, I'm one of the translators here at Nintendo Everything. Just joined the team earlier this year, so still a newbie. And my main focus with being a translator is to bring news to the audience that normally wouldn't get translated into English, bring exclusive content, exclusive translations, something that, gets real deep in there for the super nerdy people. So whatever the topic is, we're diving deep. I like to think of it as getting handed a rare ingredient, like getting a rare ingredient and making a full meal out of just that ingredient. So I use every part of the Bowsette, basically.
I love deep explanations like that. Please keep doing that on the podcast. I need that.
Okay.
And so as far as like, what are you into as far as like gaming? What's your your favorite games, maybe something like that?
Sure. So love JRPGs, also Western RPGs, but turn-based is my jam. Like action platformers, a good Metroidvania, something that harkens back to the 32-bit era, character action games like Bayonetta and Devil May Cry. Yeah, like you can pen me down for like somebody who super loves Japanese developed video games.
Now, I'm kind of on a similar boat there. Like, I love a good JRPG. That's kind of my weakness is kind of JRPGs, with turn-based or not. I don't really mind if it goes the Western route. Something that really appeals to me in a game, though, is kind of quirky and fun dialogue. I love when a game isn't afraid to have some fun with a dialogue, because I'm not a huge fan of deep storytelling. I believe there's a place for that in games. I just don't believe I'm the audience for it as much. And so, when a game kind of comes out, like an example here would be kind of the Paper Mario games. They rampantly have fun dialogue that I just kind of go around and just talk to everyone, because I love that. And so that's one thing that I kind of enjoy there. And one more thing that I'll touch on is I'm a big fan of fantasy worlds. And so not so much realistic. That's why I like recent games and not to like already start bagging on other platforms here, but some recent games like that have come out on Sony, like Spider-Man or Red Dead Redemption. Now, something set in our setting doesn't appeal to me as much as something like Xenoblade's World that just kind of takes me to an unknown place. It's just all new territory for me.
Oh yeah, I'm totally the same actually. Fantasy worlds all the way.
And also, I don't know if I should be mentioning this in the first episode. I have a love-hate relationship with Metroidvanias, which I'm sure will come up in the future. But
I totally understand.
Yeah, I love that genre, but I definitely have parts of it that kind of grind me the wrong way. But I don't want to get into that right now. I want to keep this positive and keep moving on to kind of what's the plan for this show and the podcast in general. Now, we do have an email address, which I'm going to get you to read the email address for me.
Sure. That email is nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
So that's nintendoeverythingpod, P-O-D, @gmail.com. And what's so important about that is we want, like right now, we're going to get into a little bit later on, but we're going to have an email segment, and we need questions from you guys, we need responses from you guys, and we just want your thoughts on the podcast in general, what you would like to see in the future and where you would like us to go. So we're going to reiterate that again a little bit later on, but I just wanted to bring it up now so that you guys are all aware that this is very much a growing show. This is just the start, and we want to grow into what the audience is kind of looking for.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we don't really have names for our segments at the moment, so that is something
we're working on that.
Yeah, that's something we're definitely working on. But for now, I kind of want to just take a break and kind of jump straight into the news. All right, so we were going to talk about the news, and I just kind of realized that I've just jumped ahead a segment here because we got a number of segments planned. As I mentioned, we're going to do emails in the future episodes. We got the news, which we're going to do next. But each week, we kind of want to catch people up with what we're doing, what we're playing, what we find interesting. And only you've been doing some interesting or playing some interesting games this week because it's been Halloween. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, I've been playing some spooky games. I'm super into Halloween. I absolutely love it. It's my favorite holiday. So to get in that mood, I picked up my Wii U gamepad again, dusted it off, and I played some Fatal Frame 5 again. Super love that series. That game has excellent atmosphere. That series has always been great in like establishing like a really dark mood and a really menacing and like weak feeling when you play the main character. So you're like ready to be killed at any moment.
Are you a big like horror or like these type of series fan in the first place?
I would say so, but not the biggest one. I'm not like a crazy person, but well, I'm definitely a crazy person.
Jury's still out of that one.
I would say I'm quite into it. Like I always loved the Resident Evil series. Until a little bit later when it got super actiony. But yeah, I love to be spooked. Love to be spooked when I'm playing a game. So that's why I love Fatal Frame. That series is so good. It's like stumbling upon a car, and the car is like a nice car and it's ready to go, and it's got like keys in the ignition and everything. All you got to do is like make that conscious decision to like turn the lights off, close the blinds, that kind of thing. Play it at night. You just got to turn the ignition and like let the car take you. This game is super good. And I think everybody should be playing it. I hope that it gets a Switch port because that game is so good.
And you said you had to dust off your Wii U. You didn't really have to dust it off, did you? It doesn't live in your living room?
Oh god, yeah, I had to dust it off. Are you kidding me?
Oh no.
Yeah. For as much as I did enjoy my Wii U and I played it a bunch, like that thing is covered in dust.
Oh no. Mine kind of lives in my living room. I haven't touched it much lately, but I don't have the heart to put it away yet.
Oh, of course not. Yeah, but I bet if you take a look at it, it's got a light layer of dust on it.
Oh, I don't think it's light at all. I think it's heavy.
See?
So what else were you playing then?
So I also started to play a bit of Yomawari, which is like not new. It's new to the Switch. Just came out like a week ago.
Okay.
It's like a collection of 2 games that have come out, I think like in 2015 and then a little bit later. But that game is great. I barely knew what it was. I just saw that it was cute and also like evil. And it dealt with a whole bunch of like ghosts and Japanese folklore in modern day. And I was like, sold, totally sold. So
I totally haven't heard of this one. That's interesting. I'm gonna have to check it out.
It's by NIS America, at least in the States. And so yeah, they they do the Disgaea and all the printies and stuff, the little penguin guys that explode.
Definitely into that.
Yeah. So they were the publishers. I don't know if they were developers or whatever, but that game has excellent sound design. I am loving my Switch more and more these days, where like I can play it in handheld mode, lay in bed, and like put like a really good pair of headphones in and get super creeped out by the sounds. Like that game is excellent, and anybody who's super into that, I recommend they pick it up real soon.
Okay, I'm definitely going to have to check it out because it's just I haven't had the time over the last week to kind of be keeping up with the new releases. But
yeah, you've been super busy this past weekend.
Yeah, I have been. I will get to that in 2 seconds because you have one more game that you've been playing, haven't you?
Yeah, so one more game that I've been playing that totally surprised me was Resident Evil Revelations 2. That game was out of nowhere good. Like, I couldn't believe it because I played, like, of course I played all the major Resident Evil games because I'm a fan of the series. I didn't really like 6. Oh wait, I haven't played 7. Yeah, 7 is the one I haven't played yet because I'm not really into the first person horror stuff too much. I know I'm going to play it eventually, but it's just lower on my list.
Okay,
anyway.
so you're more of a third person type of horror fan than like getting right in there with the spooks.
Totally. Like, believe me, I'm up in the spooks. I get super deep in the spooks. I do. But I don't know, something about the first person. Like, I think I like to see my character. I empathize with the character a bit more, rather than it's like I am walking through a scary house or whatever. So anyway, yeah, Resident Evil Revelations 2. I did not like Revelations 1, even though a lot of people said, oh, so good, return to form. I didn't think so. Didn't like 6. It was super action oriented and all over the place and convoluted. Revelations 2 is back, dialing it back to campy, ridiculous story. Still too big for its britches. I won't go into that, but Resident Evil needs like a certain level of like awful story and awful voice acting, and like
I say that if it didn't have awful voice acting, it just wouldn't be there for me.
yeah, you need some Jill sandwiches in every Resident Evil game, and this game has very meta jokes for the Jill sandwich. I could go super into this, but I'm sorry, I'm already taking up a bunch of time.
That's all right.
It's great. It plays really well. The characters, several of them play very differently, which really keeps an exciting, I don't want to say like pace or something when you switch between the characters and you have to play them totally differently. Like you have to play it stealthy, or like you don't have a gun. It's great.
Now, if I've been like kind of rather quiet when you've been talking about these horror games, it's because I get the spooks very easily, and I don't play any like the most horror that I go is like, okay, I'm playing Luigi's Mansion. This is horror to me, you know.
Oh yeah.
Like, here's the thing. I love horror games. Like, I love being a part of them, but I just can't do it to myself because I get sleepless nights. They affect me way more than they should, and so I tend to stay away from them. But like, there's this curious part of the me that's kind of like, and I've been like this ever since I was young. Like, ever since probably like, I think my cousins were playing like the original Resident Evils, and I just would try to like sneak out into the room and play it with them, and my mum would be like, Eric, you can't go out there, you know what you're like. And I knew what I was like. I knew that I would get the spooks from it, but I couldn't help myself but like go watch and so I've always had this kind of curiosity towards these horror games that is far beyond what I can actually take.
So you were the kid that put his hands over his eyes, but he still peeked through one of the corners of like his fingers, right, to see.
That's me. That's like, yeah. If there's a horror movie on, they'll be like, oh, you know, just leave the room, and I'll be like, no, it's all right. I'm just going to sit here and turn the other way, and like I'll just be turning the other way and like looking over my shoulder every now and then.
Yes, yeah.
So that's me. Anyway, my week has been super busy because we've had PAX Australia on, which, in case you can't tell by my obvious accent, I am Australian. And so I managed to get over there as media, because I was doing a bunch of interviews and checking out a bunch of new games for Nintendo Everything, which I do have content kind of going up on the site. It's coming. It's just, it takes time when obviously you're trying to work a job and get this stuff out on the side. So I believe I should have a couple of those interviews going up this weekend, but there will be more coming, and a bunch of stuff like my impressions on some of the games that I've been playing, because I've got to play a whole bunch there. So as far as like the obvious things that I saw Smash and Pokemon. They're both really fun. They're both exactly what you're kind of expecting them to be at this stage. I don't really have anything to add as far as like, oh, you're not going to believe this. But I think those fans and the people who are going to buy those kind of would know if they were going to buy them or not. And I kind of put this in perspective when I was talking to some other people about it, is that if I was going in as a consumer, I don't actually know if I would be checking out those games, only because because even after walking away with them, I was just like, that's exactly what I expected it to be, and I love that. But it's, I would have had to wait an hour and a half online. Luckily I didn't, but I would have had to have waited an hour and a half in line to pay both of them, which kind of wouldn't have been worth it for me when the games are coming out in a couple of months.
Yeah, I totally know what you mean. I went to that Nintendo Switch event in what was it, like January of 2017, when they were touring North America, and there were a couple of games that had quite a long line, like Splatoon 2, and I was like, I know I'm gonna be getting that game. Like, I'd like to play it, but like it's gonna play like Splatoon, I can tell by the stuff, so I skipped on to other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And probably lucky you did, because realistically, it was great, and it like had extra content. Salmon Run's fun, but it still was Splatoon. Now, what else did I get to see there? So I guess the main highlight was all these indies that I actually got to see there, because first of all, there was just more indies than ever before. Like at this PAX Australia event, there was just massive amounts of them, and so I was running around trying to catch up with all these indies. It's like most of them were like, there was a lot of them that were coming to the Switch, but most of them were just like, yeah, we want to come to the Switch, we just can't say anything yet, or like we're still trying to work on actually getting it onto the Switch. And that was the kind of the scene from the whole event, is that like there's so many indies and they all want to be on the Switch.
That's awesome. That's so great.
Yeah, so like it is great to hear from all these indies. So I went around and talked to a lot of them, and they're all really excited about it. So I would expect like the flood of indies just to continue at the moment, because there's so many of them out there. And I guess the one game that I kind of want to touch on, and the one thing that I actually waited in line for at this event, because most of my time was just running around doing this other stuff, was I waited in line for an hour to play the Goose Game.
Oh, that was going to be my next question. Sorry. Yeah, I must know about this Goose Game.
It's the type of game that everyone wants to know about and that's why I had such a long line. Honestly, Nintendo had like all these other indies that were showing off there. They had like some Killer Queen Black and some other indies that are still coming out, lesser known ones. And you could, if you wanted to go up and play any of these, you could walk up, or even, Nintendo's own titles, you could just walk up at any time and just play them. Like, there wasn't really a line of maybe one or two people, but the Goose Game, just constant line. Like, it just did not stop. And like I said, I was lucky that it only took me an hour. Like, honestly, I thought I was going to be a bit quicker, because the people in front of me, there was a lady in front of me and she had 3 kids, and I thought, oh, surely she's just going to let the 3 kids have a go together and they'll just pass the controller around and then move on. And it's like, nope, each kid's getting like a 5-minute bracket each.
Oh, she's gaming the system.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, come on. I mean, it was only fair, but like, I just wanted to hurry up and play the Goose Game. And yeah, so like, they actually had the 10-minute demo first of all, and they had to cut it down to 5 because like, it was just ridiculous how many people wanted to play this game. So expect the Goose Game when it releases. I think it's January next year or early next year. Expect this game to kind of really take off, and rightly so. It was a lot of fun. You just get to play as, everyone's calling him a bit of a goose jerk, but I don't think he's a bit misunderstood. I think he just he wanted to make his own picnic, and this farmer kind of guy's getting in the way. So we'll see how the rest of the game turns out. But I'm really expecting this one to take off, just because of how, I don't know, cute the art style is and just how fun the gameplay is.
Yeah, it's so unique, right? Like, you wander around and you have to like do your little goose objectives.
It's just kind of crazy the amount of like different ways they do it too. Like you have to turn this hose on, which gets him wet, and that's just one of your objectives, is like get him wet. And then like you got to steal his keys, and there's so much different stuff that you've got to do in this game, and it's really clever the way it's all put together. So again, really looking forward to this one. And I mean, the last kind of highlight from this event for me was that I just got to catch up with a bunch of media folk that I've got to know throughout Australia, because obviously being Australian, before this I've gotten to know a lot of other media outlets and got to interact with them. So it's good to meet up with the Nintendo folk and the other media folk that I just know from around there, and just talk about, how things are going on their end.
Nice.
Yeah, that was kind of my PAX event. I think that's kind of going to do it for what we've been doing this week, because I don't want to spend too long on it, because we've actually got a huge amount of news to go through since the Smash Direct. So let's move into the news. We had a Smash Direct this week, and it was really exciting.
It was super exciting.
Like, I was getting really pumped for this one, because I'm like, the other ones have been so great. And, there was all these kind of rumored characters, which, to be honest, I don't know about you, Oni, but I have just been not buying these at all. I'm just like, nah, I don't buy into rumors. I'll just wait to see what comes out. It's like, what did you think of the initial rumors? Do you know remember which ones these were?
Oh, absolutely. I was actually on the opposite side of the spectrum. I was thinking that, oh, this looks pretty legit. Like, I didn't look into it too much. Like, oh, does it look really printed or something like that? Just like a lot of things added up, and there was a lot of characters I thought made sense. There were some characters that didn't make sense, and like, I don't know, there were red flags for sure, but I didn't think about it too hard, because I'm not going to, and this is a PSA for sure, I'm not about to go into a rumor and like hype myself up for an announcement that's going to be coming just to disappoint myself. Like, people don't do that. Stop doing that.
To me, like, I'm not the type of person that's going to look in there and look at the screenshots and start analyzing them, because one, I just don't know enough in the first place to be like, oh, this is why they could be true, or this is why they could be fake.
Yeah, we're not Game Explain over here.
Yeah, exactly. But let's go into the new characters that did actually get announced. So we had Ken was announced, and Incineroar, and one extra, which was Piranha Plant, which is coming as DLC. What did you think of these characters?
Piranha Plant, yes. I'm so hyped for right? Piranha Plant.
Why?
It's so stupid. I hate it, and I love it. I love it.
I know. It's definitely a love situation for me, because Piranha Plant is just kind of the most ridiculous end, and it's almost like, Sakurai was in his house and it's just like, you know what? I'm sick of hearing all these silly rumors about all these characters coming. I'm just going to get one that like nobody is going to guess. No one is going to guess Piranha Plant, and no one did. Like, I hadn't heard anything about this, and then all of a sudden it's like, here's Piranha Plant, and it's just the most ridiculous character. Like, the way it reaches out, it shoots spiky balls, and the fact that it turns into Petty Piranha as its final smash. Because like, first of all, I'm like, why isn't that just Petty Piranha? Like, why are we playing as Piranha Plant? And then the final smash, it totally makes sense. I'm like, oh, that is so cool.
So he doesn't turn into PD Piranha. He actually just summons him. He's still on the battlefield.
Oh, you're right. I did actually notice that, and didn't occur to me that he was like right beneath him running around still.
Yeah, he's the real mastermind.
Yeah, I'm obviously the most pumped as you are for Piranha Plant. But what about Ken and Incineroar? Is these kind of like, okay, new characters, cool, or like are they still exciting for you as well?
So I am excited for Ken. I'm excited for Incineroar as well, but I think that they were both a bit flat compared to all of their other amazing character announcements that they've done so far, like King K. Rool, Ridley, Simon, and Richter. Like those were fantastic. These are good, I think. Ken, because he's a perfect echo fighter. I always liked Ken a little bit more than Ryu, being a Street Fighter kid growing up. I just liked him because he's a little bit more brash and cockier than Ryu, but he still believes in like honor and all that junk. So still got a good heart. Just a little bit more fun than Ryu.
Yeah.
But then when Incineroar came on the scene, like I have not played Sun and Moon yet, even though I've got my copy of Sun because I can't wait to get that Alolan Vulpix. But it's still just sitting there in the case. Anyway, Incineroar, he came on the screen and I was like, who is this? Like what? And then like even the name like came out and then like it's just a weird spelling. So I was like, I can't read that. What does it say? Like I was the most like just lost for like a
it's
moment.
Like an old man trying to watch the direct going, what is going on? What are these kids doing?
Totally. What's a Pikachu? What? Like that kind of thing. It's basically what I was for a very brief moment. And I was like, oh, that's right. It's the final evolution of the Fire Cat thing.
You sound exactly the same as me. Like to me, I was just like, oh yeah, that's that Fire Cat thing from Pokemon. Like because like Pokemon to me is like the first gen and the second gen. And then like after then I just dropped off and like I kind of kept up with being like, oh yeah, there's some new Pokemon, or like I dabbled in them, but I never really got back into it. And so like when Incineroar popped up, I'm like, yeah, I recognize that Pokemon thing, I guess.
Super sorry to all of the Pokemon fans listening to our podcast right now. So sorry.
I know we need to get like someone who's really into Pokemon on so they can kind of counterweight our old manism. And as far as Ken goes, I'm just going to go into old man mode again here and just say Ken's kind of special to me because like Street Fighter was the first game that I really remember playing when I was a kid. So it was like I did play NES games and other games before that, but I just don't really have a memory of them. But as far as games that I remember playing, Street Fighter was definitely like one of my first games that I remember playing, and I played a lot as Ken, so it's kind of like, oh, this is really cool. Like I like that he's in there just for that kind of nostalgia sake for me.
Very cool.
Yeah, and as a little bit of a tidbit there, when I was a kid, as a funny story is of when I grew up and started playing games. The first time I ever played Street Fighter, my dad handed me the controller and we were playing 2-player and he handed it to me upside down. Of course, I'm, whatever age I was, like 4, and I didn't even realize. And so I'm holding the controller upside down and I'm playing with it upside down, and he never corrected me, just let me play like that for some reason. Don't ask why.
What a sadist.
Yeah, I know. It's probably just so he could lay the beat down on me or something. I don't know what's going on there. And so like I'm playing the game. And eventually, like, I just learnt to play the game like that. And so whenever I played Street Fighter, I played with it upside down.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
I'm not even kidding. So that's how I learned how, and it gets even funnier because we ended up going to, I haven't done this in a long time, but when we were kids, there were malls that had, the gaming consoles in them and things like Street Fighter and stuff like that set up on them. And I don't even know if that's still a thing. It's certainly not much of a thing if it is around Adelaide where I live. But I went into the mall and there was another kid there, and so like my mum goes up to this other kid who was probably, I don't know, 14, 15 at the time, and I'm like 4, and she's like, hello, my son would like to have a game with you, do you mind? And like, this is all the retelling of my mum, the way she told the story, because I don't remember this, apparently the kid looks over his shoulder and he's like, oh, okay. and so I come up and like I instantly pick up and start playing with the controller upside down. And this kid's like looking at me going, oh God, what is this kid doing? Long story short, I kicked his bottom. I tell you what. Again, the retelling, I might not have done that well, but I did beat him. This is a retelling from my mum's side, but
that's all that matters
amazing.
When you're a kid.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I've gone way off track. Let's get back onto Smash track here. And Yeah, actually, another interesting thing that I think here is that you start with 8 characters from the N64, which I just think is really, really cool. That's one of my favorite things, is unlocking characters slowly. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I'm a total sucker for that too. Like I saw it and I was like, "This is stupid," but I love it. Like it's just for me. It's super for me. I'm sure that they're gonna make it super easy to unlock everything, and it's gonna be like, click start. Oh, you got to battle a person now. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna be really easy to unlock all 80 characters that we're eventually going to have.
See, a lot of them, like, they've got to not be that hard to unlock. 'Cause, like, I remember playing a lot of, I don't know which ones they were, but like some of them was like, play 80 hours of the game, and then this character will come and challenge you, and like it's just like, all right, well, I'm going to leave my system on overnight.
Yeah, wasn't that? I want to say like Melee and Brawl really had some. Brawl in particular, I think, had some pretty stringent guidelines.
Yeah, there was definitely some that had some stringent guidelines. So I do wonder how stringent they're going to be, or whether like they're just going to have some stringent ones, and a lot of them are just going to be like unlocking constantly. I don't know. I think that'll be interesting to see how they unlock them. I hope they don't do what I've heard some people mention, and that is just have them all tied behind the story mode, which we'll get into, and just simply play through that, and you unlock them one by one. I do like the idea of having secrets and trying to find, like, the community trying to find out how to unlock these characters. I think that's a little bit of fun.
Yeah, that's like a lost art, isn't it? Like, I of course always loved that as a kid, where it's like, oh, what do you do? How do you do this thing? And I have to go talk to my friends at school. But
Exactly.
there's the internet now, and
that's the problem, isn't it? Is that like nothing's really a secret anymore.
yeah.
I do want to talk about the Amiibos that are coming out as well with this one. I don't know about you, Ernie. Are you a bit of an Amiibo freak like myself, or?
I have become one. It like against my better judgment and against everything that people shouldn't be spending $10-12 on plastic. I have so many now. Like I was only gonna collect the ones that I liked, and that was like 3 here, 4 there. I have so many. I have so many, dude.
Okay, so like at last count, average, how many do you think you have?
I have not counted because I refuse to acknowledge the number.
I knew you were going to say that.
How about you, though?
My life is like really depressing. I can look over on my shelf here now, and I have like all the Smash ones. I have all the animal. In fact, I have every one, I think, up until the most recent Splatoon line that came out, where they were like, all right, here's another 3 squid. And I'm like, I can't do it anymore. I've got it. Like, I'm out. I can't like just keep collecting them all, because there was a point where like I'm sitting there and I'm going, like, in Australian dollars, these could be like close to $20 each. And when I added them up, I'm like, this is like into the thousands of dollars of how much I've spent on Amiibo. This is not healthy. This is not good.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, I had the latest Splatoon line, and I'm like, nah, I've got to get out of that then. And so like the latest Smash line as well, even though I have all the other Smashes, I'm just going, I'm getting the ones that I like, really, really like, and that's it. Like, obviously, I need to get the Piranha Plant one. That's a necessity. But as far as the other ones that are coming out, I'm just kind of like, nah, I'm out on that. And as far as like when they're coming out, again, there's some coming out alongside launch with December, and then we've got some in February, and then we've got some coming out just in a 2019 timeline, which is obviously they want to stagger the releases, because if they release them all at once, they're probably not going to sell as well. But I find this interesting only because if we remember back to, I think it was Bayonetta Cloud and Corrin, I believe like, I might be talking for Australia here. I think it was worldwide that we end up waiting like over a year for those to come out.
Yeah, we did wait a really long time for those, and wasn't there some other ones that we were like, when are these going to release? Maybe it was those. It was those, I think. But yeah, it just was a phantom release date forever.
Yeah, I can't remember if there's any others, but yeah, it was a complete, yeah, like you said, phantom release date, and I was just waiting forever for them. And another kind of interesting fact that we have here is that apparently 50 million Amiibo have sold.
That's so much plastic. That's so much garbage.
That is just like I'm all for like the cardboard and everything like that. But like 50 million Amiibo, that you can imagine how much space 50 million Amiibo would take up in like just in a dump. It's like there's so many Amiibo. It's kind of unbelievable.
It's probably bigger than New Zealand.
Yeah, probably. And I've kind of broken down some of the numbers here. So at last Google search, like Google can totally be wrong, I don't know, but they said there's about 164 Amiibo out. Now, that's an average of 300,000 units of each amiibo sold. Now, obviously, some are going to be a lot more and some
Yeah.
are going to be a lot less. But I thought that's kind of crazy that, like, on average, the amiibo are selling 300,000 units.
Yeah, that is super crazy. It's especially crazy because I think that they can stop making amiibos entirely because they made their best amiibo already. That's the Metroid with the little squishy head. That's the best
Yes.
one.
I don't know. When that one kind of came around, I'm like, I have to get that just so I can feel that squishy head.
Oh, it's so good, so good.
Yeah, and like, I do wonder, like, obviously there has to be at this stage because if the average unit is selling 300,000 units, then there's going to be some of them that have sold, a lot less than 100,000. There must be some that are like in the million sellers, and I really wonder, like, I would love a list of here's the amiibos of the million seller amiibos.
Yeah, I would love to know that too. Because you have to wonder, is it the ones that they always keep like in good stock, like Mario and Link, or is it the ones that seem like they're selling really well because they're always sold out or whatever, or is that just like a stock shortage because they didn't produce that many of that character and they weren't expecting it?
Exactly, and it also kind of brings up the, is it got to do more with a games helping these sell? Like, is it Breath of the Wild amiibos doing incredibly well because of Breath of the Wild, or is it
Oh,
simply
right.
like people love the Zelda amiibos, so anything in the Zelda line is selling really well?
Yeah, yeah. There's so many unknowns there.
Exactly. Uh, Back onto some more known quantities. The story mode. Actually, before we get into story mode, let's talk about the spirit mode that was announced for Smash as well. So this is obviously when the last Smash Direct happened. We got like a new green mode, which people kind of instantly worked out that the word said spirit. Which, like, part of me was sitting there thinking, why didn't they just, like, instead of blurring it, change the image completely so people couldn't work this out? And then part of me was going, you know what, they did that on purpose because, like, they love the people speculating and rumors and, like, it just creates more conversation around it. So
Oh,
I'm
that's
feeling
totally
that's
true. That's totally true because like they had to do that for several different directs, right? So they had to do that for like an English direct, and they had to do that for a Japanese direct, and I don't know if they do it in other languages or not, but like this, both of those images were both poorly blurred out, so you could make sense of them.
exactly. And so, and because the word spirits doesn't give away too much, I have a feeling they're like, let's like, people will work this out eventually. I think they kind of saw that coming.
That's so smart.
On their behalf, definitely. What did you think of this new spirit mode? So, like, I think what do they say? It's basically you're saving spirits, and then you can use them to kind of customize your battles and your fighters.
Yeah, so it left me with some questions for sure, but I was thinking that this was going to basically be our adventure mode replacement.
Me too.
So I was very surprised about like the adventure mode that we'll talk about in a minute, just suddenly popping up out of nowhere. But I was feeling this one. I was like, oh yeah, so this is definitely better than the what's it called, Smash Party or something on the Wii U one. I played that once and that was just like chaos. I was like, what is happening? I hate this. So I was super into this where I was like, oh, okay, some light RPG elements. I can totally get into this. It's a little bit like event battles from Melee. And yeah, I was all about it. I was like, yeah, I could see myself like being like, oh, okay, so I'm gonna do this spirit with this person, then like the assist spirits or whatever they called it, like going to your first spirit. Like it's a nice little thing for people with the OCD.
Are you like because like I know myself, but I'm wondering, are you with the Smash and series in general a single player guy? Like, do you enjoy kind of getting down and getting into nitty gritty and doing these type of things by yourself? Or are you very much like, I love playing this online with friends and that's just the way I play it?
So for me, like it's changed over the course of my life. So when I was younger, of course, when we played the 64 Smash and Melee, I was totally a couch co-op, go over to my friends' places like as many times per week as possible and, play together. As I got older, now I play a little bit online, but not too much just because, I don't know, it's not fun when you're not talking to the other person and whatnot. So now I'm much more of a single player kind of guy. So that's why I'm particularly excited about the Spirits mode because it's like a meaty single player experience. But how about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of. We really should find something that's different about us because I'm exactly the same. I like when I play Smash. I used to be very much like I had my cousins up and we'd all just sit down and that was our thing. Just play Smash together from the 64, and it always used to be me and my older cousin ganging up on my younger cousin for some reason. I don't know how that happened, but apparently I was the bully. But and as time kind of grew and I found that I had less and less time, I've started playing a lot more single player Smash and really enjoyed the parts of it where I get to try all the break the targets mode and try hit the home run bat as far as I can, and do all these kind of extra things, and especially like the subspace imagery is like wasn't perfect, but like I enjoyed it for what it was, and so yeah, like having these two now single player modes in this, it's certainly got me kind of more excited. And I do actually have a partner who plays games with me, so like part of it for me is we could play couch co-op Smash together, but most of the time like we would team up, because like we're not much of a fan of like competitive games where we're playing against each other. We're much more of fans like if we get to sit down and play a game like Overcooked and work as a team together.
Nice. Yeah, I totally understand.
I don't know if you buy into this, but apparently in the other story mode trailer, which they're calling the World of Light, they said there's 10 to 1 of us, like the master hands that were coming down. They said basically each one of us is going to have to take out 10 of these. And I'm kind of wondering whether that's got to do with the spirits. So like, is it possible that there's 74 characters, 10 to 1, 740 spirits in the game for us to kind of unlock?
Oh my god, that'd be crazy. Oh, I'm so excited for that.
And the thing that kind of makes me think that that's believable is that like that there's that many, is that they mentioned in the thing that they've taken out the trophies that you unlock because a lot of work was put into designing the models of each trophy. But because these are just character art, it allows them to kind of make these a lot quicker. It's more just programming of what the stats are going to be and what they change, more than I guess completely new trophy designs and models.
Yeah, I could totally see that now that you're mentioning it. Like when I heard it, I just figured it's just like some little dialogue to exaggerate how many enemies they're up against or something like that. I didn't think of it as actually a gameplay statistic or something.
Yeah.
So now that you mention it, like, I'm totally up for all that.
And what about story mode? So I'm going to let you take this one away. What did you think of the story mode, the World of Light? Sum this one up for me.
So actually, just before you say that, though, I did want to mention that for the spirits mode, where they were talking about like, you have to, pick your spirit, and you can also, I think during this time they say you can buy things from like the little shop. I was terrified if they were going to say that you can spend microtransactions to buy like, coin dollars or whatever the hell they put inside of Smash. I was terrified.
Oh my God.
It felt like they were like building it up, and then I was like, it makes so much sense. The investors are going to pressure them into doing this, just like how everybody else gets that. But they didn't.
You could feel the investors drooling as they're watching. Oh, here it comes.
Oh, I was building up with indignation. I was just ready to just let it unleash, but it did not happen.
Yeah, no, that's so lucky. I did not even think about that. Like, I'm watching this and it didn't even occur to me, because I'm just like, nah. I guess in my head I was like, nah, they would never ever do that in a Smash game. Like, surely they wouldn't taint the waters of the Smash and throw something like that in there. But I'm now that you mention it, I'm really, really glad they didn't.
Yeah, I feel like actually Smash would be like the ideal thing for them to do that, because I mean, we've seen very sustained high sales for Smash, and it's a like community that has such dedicated people to it. So that's the perfect people to exploit, right? So
that's what you want. You want your whales, and the Smash community has a lot of whales in its waters.
Right. So anyway, that didn't happen, so that's great. But I just wanted to send out those seeds of fear into everybody that's listening right now.
Thank you. Now, like, I'm not gonna be able to sleep tonight.
Yeah. So anyway, going on to the story mode. So they announced that World of Light, and they started to mention how like, the story mode in this game is nothing like the one in Brawl. And I was like, well, yeah, you just introduced spirits, so I was thinking spirits is the adventure mode, right? Then suddenly they play this like Infinity War type CG cutscene, and it was really cool. Like, a lot of people are pointing out like, oh, Sonic slowed down for Pikachu because that's so like his character. And I'm not a big Sonic guy, but like I was like, oh yeah, that's really good. That's good characterization in just a very brief moment, stuff like that. So it was a good CG cinematic where everyone's getting like, picked off one by one by this like Final Fantasy creature for sure.
Yeah, like kind of on that, like I love the way they did pick everyone off. They all, like you mentioned, they all have such personality and they're all true to who they were. Like, you have Snake, who's like, I found it hilarious that he's just in a box.
I lost it. It was so funny.
Like there was a few of them that like were building up to that. I'm like, it's getting funnier, it's getting funnier, and then they had Snake in her box, and like I just fell off the chair. It was like it got to me. That was the one that was really just like, yes, that was perfect. And then like I enjoyed Captain Falcon. Like he just jumps into his car, and like before he could even get into his car, he's just taken out. And then the squids that jump into the ink, and it's just like they're trying to hide.
Yeah, yeah.
The whole thing was just kind of all of them was just kind of perfect the way they lined those up.
Yeah, I totally agree. I like to, my headcanon for the Wii Fit trainer is that she was so freaked out. She didn't know what she was doing. So she's one of those people that like has to do exercise when their life is in chaos. And so she's like, do tree pose right now. It makes me feel good.
Quick, crouching tiger. When I was thinking about like the Wii trainer, I was just like, why would she just be doing poses? And I'm like, well, what else would she be doing?
Yeah, she's like a lady who's like in her upper 30s. She's got a couple of kids, and she's like taking them to soccer practice. She's got to go to yoga right after that, like that kind of thing.
She needs those endorphins.
Yeah. Moving on from all of the Infinity War craziness that happened in that CG cutscene, of course, and I was so happy, Kirby is the one that survives. Sakurai's son. His son grows powerful, and he blasts off into this brand new planet.
Yeah, like I didn't even think about that when I was thinking like why was Kirby the one that survived? And then I just figured, I guess that makes sense. He's like the one, superstar. He can blast up into space on his star. But like out of all of them, because I guess Sakurai gave birth to him, it makes sense.
That, and also in the cutscene, it looked like Shulk cast speed on him.
Oh, I did it. I didn't even notice that.
It seems like it. I don't know. I just saw it a couple times and I was like, it looks like that, but I can't tell.
I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch that because when I watched Shulk, I was like, why didn't he used his foresight? Why didn't he warn anyone or do something? But
I know. What a D-bag move. Like he didn't say anything.
I know. Just looks back at everyone and it's just like, okay, you're not gonna tell him to run or
Yeah. So you said you're gonna go back and check that out. I am not going to be going back and checking that out because I have a big problem with the whole thing. As soon as that happens and Kirby goes into the brand new planet, and that new song pops in, I hate it. I hate that song so much.
No.
Yes, I know. I'm in the minors right here. I know I totally am in the minority on this. But as soon as the lyrics came in, my eyes rolled into the back of my head, and I was gonna have an aneurysm just because it. Okay, so. Can I get into this just like a little second? I'm sorry, everyone listening that's going to hate what I have to say about this, but
you're gonna have to apologize to me as well. Like I was like, as soon as that music started playing, I was just like glued to the screen. I'm like, yes, Kirby, go.
No, I like was ready to turn it up. I turned the music down to try and pay attention to what was happening on the screen. I hated the song so much. So my biggest problem with it is like the vocals are whatever, but it's just not my style. It's not like they were sung bad or something, but the lyric spacing is terrible. It's very wordy and awkward. And as a linguist, it just reeks to me of so much of the we translated this from Japanese kind of thing. And then like using a bunch of...
You would totally pick up on that.
I mean, maybe. I could be projecting too. I could be full of whatever on this, but, but it just sounds like they use like filler words. To fit the structure and the large amount of syllables that the song was originally written for. Like I took a peek at the Japanese direct as well, and like the words in the opening part of the song, at least because of course I didn't listen to the whole song, the words in the opening part of the song were pretty much the same thing in English, but like Japanese has more syllables for how few of things you say compared to English. So like they had to like even it out because they kept the same syllable structure, and it sounds wordy and it sounds terrible. It doesn't sound like you're singing a song. It sounds like you're trying to tell a story, and I hated it. Like what ideally should be happening, and I'm not a musician, so I don't know the correct words for this, but what ideally should be happening is you should be changing the structure of your vocals. So like, for example, in the beginning of the song, like the lyrics go like bum 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 bum, right? So every single time you hit a bum, that is every single time you do that, you have a syllable, right? So for English, like oftentimes that's one word or one part of a two-parter word or something like that. So for English, instead of it being that many syllables, it should be like bum 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 or something like that. You just take away that many syllables that you have to say and sort of restructure it just a little bit so it doesn't sound so awkward.
This is the best rant that I've ever had on the first
Oh
episode
God,
of a podcast
I'm
ever.
so sorry. I just I get so
No,
into like these little things that I can hate, especially when I do not even pretend to have good taste in music or good taste in video games or anything like that, but I am passionate about my own stuff, okay? So I know I'm gonna get lots of hate mail on this, but like I can't help it. Also, the Super Mario Odyssey song sucked. Calling it.
Okay. All right. When we decided that we were going to start this podcast together, no one ever mentioned that to me, that you didn't like the Super Mario Odyssey song.
Fight me. I don't care.
Going back into the actual, I guess, trailer and the music and the stuff that you really seem to dislike. And first of all, I do love that, like, you managed to articulate that so well with your bums.
I try.
But yeah, I was just like so into that because I'm not picking up on that side of it, and to be honest, I didn't have headphones on, so I was just listening to the speakers. I don't even think I heard what the lyrics were. I wasn't even listening to the lyrics until the end. I'm like, oh, I guess it had something to do with whatever's happening here. But like, to me, it just seemed to make total sense that Kirby was the savior after watching this, because I was thinking about, Kirby games in general, and like at the end of a Kirby game, it's always some like demonic beast that has multiple forms and just makes absolutely zero sense, like to be in this cute Kirby-like world. And so to me, I was just like, Kirby is the only one that's actually fit to take out this thing.
Yeah, totally. Especially with like the recent like Kirby lore that they're really weaving with the last game. Yeah, this makes good sense.
Now, I kind of think that we've kind of touched on most of the stuff here in the direct. So have you got anything else to kind of touch on before we move on to the funnest part of this new segment, and that's the quarterly financial report?
Don't make it sound so exciting. It really is exciting, okay?
Yeah, no, it actually really is. I'm looking forward to moving on to it. But
yeah, so I did want to say, like, not just my hate for that song, like, okay, whatever. That mode looks super cool, and I'm super all about it. It looks way better to me than the Subspace Emissary looked to me, because the Subspace Emissary, that's really hard to say, isn't it?
It's a stupid word.
Yeah. The Brawl adventure mode. It just kind of felt like you were kind of putting characters and moves against enemies that had attacks that didn't really fit together. It felt like it was a bit shoehorned together. I know probably people are going to hate me on that. Seems like a lot of people love that mode. I didn't ever finish it because I didn't like it. So that's why this mode looks so much more interesting to me. I like the overhead view and, jumping from a adventure map to another adventure map. I love it.
Yeah, I just love the style of that adventure map too, like the hand-drawn kind of art style that they're going for. Any kind of game that has an adventure map in it, like, it's instantly like here's plus 10 points in the review. You earn that.
Yeah, I get to just like sit there and look at it. Oh, so cool.
Exactly. Anyway, so let's move on to the quarterly financial report.
Let's do it.
Which, like you mentioned, is actually way more interesting than it sounds, because we get a lot of kind of juicy details out of this that isn't just, here's our figures and here's our, numbers report. There's a lot more than just figures that come out of this. And the first thing I want to touch on here is the fact that Nintendo's calling Mario and Tennis Aces another of their evergreen titles. Now, for those who kind of don't know what an evergreen title is, it just basically means that as the system grows and develops and keeps selling units, that the title will kind of continue on a pace along with the system itself. So, in this case, if we go to something like Mario Kart 8 had sold something like 50% attach rate on the system. Now, as the system has doubled in units, that attach rate has stayed the same. So it's still around a 50% attach rate. And I guess like most of them are staying close to that, which is why they call them these evergreen titles. I'm wondering that I've got a question here for you, but I honestly didn't even do any research on this myself. But what other titles do you think that could be an evergreen title for Nintendo that are still coming?
Oh, so for like the Switch, do you mean?
Yeah, so like as far as the Switch goes, at the moment we've got titles like Mario Kart, we've got Breath of the Wild, Splatoon. Yeah. I'm trying to think of the full list here of evergreen titles. I really should have it up on me, but all these titles are...
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think it was Splatoon, Mario Kart 8, Zelda, and... oh, geez. Yeah, what is that fourth one? Oh, Odyssey. Mario Odyssey, of course.
Of course. And yeah, so apparently they're adding Aces to the list of Evergreen titles, although it seems very early to be adding that to an Evergreen title list.
Yeah, it sold so much more, I think, than people were expecting. So that's just great news.
Yeah, exactly.
So to answer your question, Smash, obviously. I think that even above Smash, I think that Mario Kart is like the quintessential Evergreen title for like just an example of someone being like, oh, what is an Evergreen title? Think of Mario Kart. Like people are always going to be buying that.
I kind of think the same way. Like, in fact, when I was looking at the kind of financial reports there, and they give their bar graphs and everything like that, it's, as I was talking before, like the percentage of attach rate was like 50% or like 52% for Mario Kart or something like that. Now, as they've shown month over month, now the rest of them are going down slightly, which is like, it's slightly is next to nothing. So like going from, I think it was Mario Odyssey went from like 58% of systems to like, 54 or something like that. So they're all dropping slightly, except for Mario Kart. Mario Kart is the one title that is just staying that same percentage. And it is truly the Evergreen title, which kind of, I mean, it moves us into another point here that we want to talk about. And that's the fact that they announced Mario Kart Wii sold over 40,000 units this quarter.
I know.
Just kind of crazy. Like, I can't believe that. Wait, 40,000 units, it's still going? That is the true definition of an Evergreen title.
Yeah, totally. I made actually a comment about this on our site. I usually don't make like such a comment. I'll make like little things here or there, or maybe I'll even be snide. I made like an actual comment about this on this article. I kind of said like, this is exactly why the Wii should not have been killed off. Like the Wii U should have been, but not the Wii. But of course, hindsight 2020, yada yada yada. People are still playing their Wiis, like, and the casual people are still playing their Wii. So of course, things like Mario Kart, Wii Sports, Wii Fit, things like that are, still in people's households.
I find this really interesting. This point that you bring up, that like, yeah, like maybe, like obviously the Wii had to be killed off at some point. There's no way it could keep up. But the fact that it's still going in people's households, it's still selling so many units, it's kind of a telling state that maybe there's some more experiences here that were Wii centric that could move over, because we still have the motion controls in like the Joy-Cons. There's no reason that a lot of these titles can't make their way over. And I'm kind of surprised that like the Switch hasn't gone for more of a casual audience eventually with stuff like, some more Wii Sports games like you mentioned. Not Wii Sports, what am I thinking here? With the fitness games?
Yeah. So I have so many things to say about that. This is a whole nother conversation, but I am so excited to talk about it. First off, Wii-centric, that word that you just said is perfect. Wii-centric is the new word. Another thing is that, like, I think that the Wii U sort of has sullied the Wii name. At least when I say sullied, I mean like further than it already sort of was being in the core gamer mind. So I don't think that like now in this current timeline that we're living in, this crazy one, I don't think that the Wii can really exist moving forward.
Which is such a shame, because the Wii, you're right about that sullying the waters, because whenever I hear the Wii U's name used, it's always used in vain. I never hear it like, it's always used as like, it's, that's sold like the Wii U, or something about the Wii U. It's never like used as a net positive. And up until the Wii U, the Wii was always a name that was like, it's doing as well as the Wii. So you're right, it definitely has sullied those waters.
Yeah, by the end of the Wii's life cycle, I think that people were getting a bit tired. Well, when I say people, I mean like core gamers, people who play video games for video games. And the vocal ones, geez. They were definitely like, they were having Wii fatigue. Fatigue, if I can. That was terrible.
That was a good attempt, but we'll work on it.
I'm just so excited over Wii centric. That's the perfect word. So I think that like they could have kept the Wii going as a small side business, and then moved on to whatever their next console would have been, whether it would have been Switch or something different. Not the Wii U. And then they could have been like, okay, here's our console for core gamers, and we're going to put core games on this machine. And then on the Wii, you're still going to see certain things like the Fit series, the Sports series, stuff that like non-gamers are buying a Wii for and playing. Grandmas and like my friend who has never picked up a video game controller in her life, that kind of thing, but she's picking up a Wii. They could have continued that and then just put like, some watered, I don't know if I want to say watered down, but like, the SD versions basically of like the new Mario Kart game, because that's just going to sell bonkers on like the new console and the Wii. But sorry, this is going off on a crazy tangent. The real thing is that Mario Kart Wii is still selling.
Yeah, it's kind of just crazy that it's still selling, but it also brings up like an almost bigger question here, that again goes back into the I guess the financial report again, where they mentioned that the 3DS is not dead yet, and they that's not their words, by the way. They didn't say the 3DS is not dead yet. I don't think Nintendo's going to say it like that, but the actual quote from it was that in the grand scheme of things, Nintendo 3DS has a prominent position as a product that can be served as the first contact to Nintendo to many of our consumers. And for this reason, we will keep the business going. Now, I find that really interesting.
Yeah, me too.
Because like, to me, it actually reigns really true. Is that the fact that the 3DS is the first point of contact for a lot of people to Nintendo because it's so cheap and it's so affordable. And so in turn, it seems strange to kind of believe this, but the 3DS is actually selling Switches,
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that with that statement and with that mindset, they, especially at the end of the 3DS's life cycle or nearing the end, they really need to drop that price. They need to drop that price to just slightly above whatever cost is.
Exactly.
Because that's what you really want to do, right? You want to get Nintendo in people's hands and play, a bunch of old games that are $20 or $40 around. Then do that. You got to make the console cost less because, people already have like a phone in their hand, right? And like, it's so easy for like a parent to be like, oh, here, my 4-year-old play with my phone while I'm doing grocery shopping or something like that. No, hand them a DS that is not as expensive as your $500, $600, $700 phone and let them play with that, right? So just, it's got to be cheaper.
Yeah, and I mean, you're totally right with that. And we never got to have this conversation before because we obviously hadn't started this podcast at that stage. But like, there was these rumors going around. I believe it was from the Wall Street Journal that there was going to be a new iteration in the Switch console next year, and everyone's jump was instantly like, oh, it's got to be more powerful. They've got to keep up. And no, like, look at Nintendo's business model. What Nintendo needs is a less powerful Switch. If there's going to be anything, which I honestly doubt, we'll see what happens. But if there's going to be anything, I think that it's got to be less powerful. That if they want to phase out the 3DS at any point in time, they've got to get something cheaper on the market. Whether that be lowering the price of this one or coming out with something that has less specs or less something to make that price cheaper.
Right. Yeah. So I have several theories about this, several timelines that this could potentially go on. And one of them is that because we've seen like Nintendo do hardware revisions in going backward a bit, and we've seen them going forward a bit, but more often than not, it's a mini version or like a lesser version that still plays everything just fine, but you can buy it cheaper. And they want people to have multiple Switches, right? Like they want one for each person in the family. I think like logically, that would be the more logical step. It's not the step that I want, but I think that that's the more logical step.
No, I'm in the same boat here. Like, I don't know what I want to be perfectly honest. I haven't really thought about it enough. But like in the grand scheme of things, to me, in Australian dollars here, which is what I'm working, the Switch console is a $470 console, and I know Americans like $300. That's a lot of money to be putting down on the console, especially for something you don't know whether your kid's going to be into. But if you can put down a cheaper price in the first place, that might get them in the door, and that's certainly why the 3DS is the way it is, or the 2DS, or whatever you want to go with, because it gets kids in the door, it gets parents to buy it for their first gaming console, and then when they get affiliated with Mario, and the next Christmas rolls around, they're all of a sudden like, oh, maybe we should get them that Switch they've been asking for.
Yeah, I totally agree. In a weird way, like what I said about the Wii, where they should have kept it going, like it's almost, I can see parallels with what they're doing right now with the 3DS. Like they're still keeping it going, like for different reasons, but as that first point of entry, or as that, keep getting people to use our products a bit.
That was my thought when you kind of mentioned that the Wii shouldn't stop. Is that like that's very much related to the way the 3DS is at the moment. Like, and I really do wonder about the argument, should the 3DS die yet? Because to me, like, I'm totally on the board. I don't need it anymore. I don't really use my 3DS much, and I'd much prefer those experiences that were on the 3DS. Like, as much as I enjoy the 3D, I much prefer if they all came over to the Switch. But at the same time, that's a very personal, for me type of view, which is, it's not wrong, and it's what many other gamers share. But looking as Nintendo trying to looking at this as a company, they're obviously going to look at this in a different way. What's going to work for them?
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm the same exact way. Like, please put everything on my Switch. Like, I don't want to carry around two pieces of hardware with me. I still like my 3DS, of course. Would prefer everything on my Switch, but like, we also have to remember that these are the financial. What are these called again? Financial quarter statements.
Financial quarterly reports, basically.
It's to their investors, right? So that from a marketing standpoint, from a financial standpoint, Nintendo can't say, oh, we're turning away this huge install base and all of this potential money, and especially for a piece of hardware that's still selling really well. Like, I'm not sure about Western figures, but I keep paying attention to the Japanese ones. It's still it's the third best hardware seller, and from time to time it gets close to beating the PS4, and for a while it was beating the PS4. Which, whatever, not console wars or anything like that. I'm just trying to say that it is definitely a still topical piece of hardware. It's still selling thousands and thousands every week.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to, like, I don't know, do an episode where we kind of talk about the other consoles or something for a second and say how good they are, because we have done nothing but put them down so far this episode, which is not good.
Yeah, there's so much I would love to talk about, especially when it comes to that. Like, I love my PS4. I use it all the time.
Now, I do actually have a couple more bits of information here in the financial report, but I'm actually going to just gloss over them and to say that the Switch has outsold the GameCube. It's now got 22 million units sold compared to the GameCube's 21 million.
Yeah.
We are now on target for the N64's 33 million, which they actually expected to sell 37 million, a lot of numbers here, by March next year. So I hope they can make that expectation. We'll see what happens. And yeah, I'm just going to leave it there for my financial report, because honestly, I kind of planned with this show was thinking we're going to try keep it around the hour mark to do our best to kind of do that.
But there's so much news this week, Eric. I know. What do we do?
We could just keep going. Like, we could be here for a couple of hours on the financial report, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
But I'm just going to keep it going, flow through this a little bit quicker, and because there's some things that I want to talk about here, and that's that Diablo, which has actually just come out yesterday. It has a new Amiibo that's coming for it that you can be used to summon your own portals to untold riches.
Yeah, the Loot Goblin Amiibo.
Yeah, so the Loot Goblin Amiibo, this is a strange one to me, only because, one, it has a different box to what, like, every other Amiibo has. Obviously, this is another third-party Amiibo, like the Shovel Knight one. So, like, it's a bit strange that they decided not to go with the standard kind of box and everything with Amiibo. I just can't imagine why that is.
Yeah, I was also thinking about this, and like just before when I was putting together a few notes, I was thinking, so the box is different, right? It's a third-party Amiibo. I have no idea about the workflow or the work orders that go together. I assume Nintendo has like a tight hold on this, like from a production standpoint, but I'm wondering, like, is part of the production or at least the boxing, is that held by a third party that like is the responsibility of the, oh god, I used third party twice now, referring to two different parties, a third party boxing company in charge of putting that all together? And so that would make oh god, who does Diablo? It's not Blizzard. Who is that?
Yeah, it is Blizzard.
It is Blizzard. Okay. Stay tuned for fantastic insight on the video game industry from somebody who doesn't know about Blizzard. So maybe it's partly up to them to box this thing, and that's why the box is slightly different. I mean, I can see that they would want to have like a sort of noticeable box, but it's weird that like every single Amiibo, hasn't it been every single Amiibo that has been the same box? Yeah. Even the third-party ones like Shovel Knight.
The only ones that I can think about is like strange stuff, like maybe Skylanders, which is technically an Amiibo as well, but they're like in the Skylanders stuff.
Yeah.
And I believe there was Monster Hunter ones, but I just can't remember if the boxes were different on them or not.
Oh, yeah. They were only in stores in Japan, so...
That's right. Yeah, so I just don't know about those ones. But as far as I'm aware, this is the most different box that we've had. And the other thing that's a little bit weird here is that this is actually a old figurine that Blizzard has used before for a previous Treasure Goblin kind of toy that they had.
Yeah,
and they
I
just used the same molding. Yeah, they use the same molding to kind of do it, which, like, I don't care if they use the same molding. Honestly, that doesn't bother me as long as it still looks good. I think the thing that bothers me about this Amiibo is that Amiibo up until now have all been very reminiscent of their character. In other words, like all the Smash Brothers line very much look like their Smash Brothers character. All the Animal Crossing the same, the Mario Party, whatever kind of amiibo you go for. Even the what am I thinking here? Not the Dragon Quest, that's because it's not an amiibo. Monster Hunter. Completely different franchises. But like even the Monster Hunter ones, they look very similar to what they kind of would in game. But then you kind of jump over to this one, and it looks like very cartoony compared to what a Treasure Goblin actually looks like in game, and so that kind of threw me off a little bit.
Yeah. I like being a completely a person who's completely separate from all of this. Like I didn't know it was the same mold, and like I didn't know what the Loot Goblin looked like before because I've only played Diablo in passing before. I just thought, oh, this looks really cool. Oh, the box is different. Oh, it looks nice. I like it all. My cat just jumped down. Sorry.
So I thought I heard something jump.
Yeah, no, my cat. Sorry. She does what she wants.
That's really impressive that I heard something jump. Like it could have been anything.
So
I do actually want to move on. It's all good. I do actually want to move on to a little bit. Here's the thing: the internet love cats, so I'm actually going to leave this bit in. I do want to move on to a little bit more of Blizzard news here, and that's that. I don't know if this really has much to do with the Switch, but I do want to talk about it because they announced a new mobile game which is coming. That's called Diablo Immortal. So it is a MMO action RPG. It looks very similar to what Diablo looks like at the moment, but it's obviously on mobile and touch controls and MMO, which means like more characters in 4-player co-op type thing at the moment.
Right.
Now, this one's kind of strange to me because I think that it's something that could kind of come towards the Switch eventually. If this, obviously it got a very bad initial reaction because people hate anything that says mobile in the title. We had, what was that Final Fantasy game that I'm thinking of that I did a video on, so I definitely should know the name of this.
15 Pocket Edition?
15 Pocket Edition.
Yeah.
So we had 15 Pocket Edition that came over to the Switch, and that, like, despite what most people would think of the game, it sold well. So
it sold well. I wouldn't be surprised.
Switch. Well, like looking at the sales charts, like I wouldn't say like extremely well, like it did Game Busters, but looking at the sales charts and the fact that like it was so high on those charts, I got to believe that it did pretty well.
Yeah.
The fact that could have done all right on there kind of tells me that this could be something that Blizzard will start working on getting over to the Switch as well.
Yeah, I do wonder about that as well. Like for me, I don't really play mobile games very much. Like once in a while I'll do something, but I really don't. Just because my phone is usually pretty crappy and I don't really like using my phone for that and also communicating and whatever I have to do. But as long as the infrastructure, that's the wrong word, the structure of the game is a good fit for consoles and without microtransactions. Like, I mean, I understand if they keep them in because it was a mobile game in the first place. As long as it's a good fit and my finger doesn't have to be all over the screen when I'm trying to play an action game, then I'm pretty much all for it because I can play with a controller, which is always my preferred method. I hate that in like an action game where like you have to be doing so many things and all you have is your finger to tap on the screen. Like I can't see the screen, I see my finger, that's all.
Yeah, I hate that as well. Like, I definitely won't be playing this on mobile. And if it does come to Switch, I don't know. Like, because to me, here's the thing. When we had Final Fantasy Pocket Edition, I have Final Fantasy 15, and like this was like it's very much a pocket edition of that game, and so like I have nothing against this game, and like if people have no other way to play it on the Switch because like this is your only way to experience it. I know my partner Nat, she did, and she actually really enjoyed it. But like when it comes to this coming over, it's kind of the same situation that like if I want to play a Diablo game on my Switch, I'm gonna play the main Diablo. I'm not really gonna play this pocket edition almost type thing.
Yeah, it's already there.
Exactly. Anyway, Oni, I think we better kind of move on to kind of closing out the show and just quickly touching on listener mail again. So I do want to, as I said, touch on listener mail because normally this would be the point of the show if we weren't already probably running over an hour, that we would answer some listener mail questions. Because I kind of think that's a really fun thing to do. It brings in a bit of a different conversation that at the moment, like, when you talk about games, a lot of it's just on the current news, and so it brings in something a little bit different. So for that, we need your help at home. We need you to email us in, and I'm going to repeat the email address name here, which is nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
Yes, that's nintendoeverythingpod @gmail.com.
It can be on the current news that's happening now. It can be just any fun questions you want, or anything you would like to hear us discuss or our opinions on. We just need questions from you guys so that we have something to talk about, basically.
No, don't sound so desperate. Come on.
I know. That sounds terrible. But Oni is extremely hard to talk to, so I need something that I can talk about. And I thought maybe, I forgot to talk about this with you before the podcast, but maybe something that we can kind of throw in here is help us name a segment. So I'm thinking we don't actually have a name for our listener mail at the moment. And so it's just listener mail. And something that I love because I do listen to a lot of podcasts myself, and I did actually run one before this. One of my favorite things is to have fun names to things. And when I'm listening to NVC, they have the question block. I love that idea of they have the question block to answer listener mail. And so I want something similar for us. And obviously I'm not going to go and steal their question block idea. That's too clever. I'm not going to scoop to that level. But I do want something of our own. And so I want you guys to email us in. Let us know what you think the listener mail section should be called. And we'll go from there.
In addition to that, a callback from what Eric was talking about in the beginning of the episode, this show is sort of malleable. It's whatever you guys want to hear. So please let us know what you do like, what you don't like. And we need your input on it. It's like a Kickstarter, but it doesn't cost your money, and it's slightly less likely to be a scam.
It only costs your time. But no, you're totally right. I really want this show to grow, and I want the audience to help us grow into what we are. So let's give us feedback. Let us know what you think.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of going to do it for the show. Now, before we go, where can people find you on the interwebs?
So right now they can find me tweeting and creeping over in Twitter at Oni_Dino. And we also have our official Nintendo Everything Twitter. That's at ninteverything.
Oh, I'm glad you wrote that down. I forget what the Twitter is for Nintendo Everything. So obviously, follow us on Twitter. Make sure to stay up to date with everything that's happening with Nintendo news on the website. You can find me, myself, and I at Nintendo Numbers on Twitter. And I think one thing that I should mention actually before we go, for whoever's still sticking around at this point, hopefully everyone, is that this week has been hosted by me, Eric. And we are actually just doing a bit of a rotating roster here. So each week you're just going to hear one of us. The host is simply the person who's just going to control the flow of the show and bring up the next topic and things like that. And so next week you're going to hear a little bit more from Oni, a little bit less from me, kind of taking the flow of the show. And hopefully you guys kind of enjoy his take on things. They're not going to be better than mine, but he can just do his best.
Oh God, I'm so nervous.
Do not be nervous. You're going to be great at this. Speaking of great, this has been a great episode. Thank you for joining me, Oni.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Thank you for joining me.
All right. Remember, for everything Nintendo, stay tuned to Nintendo Everything.
First breath, blossoming in a soil